This, public, this publication offers in-depth and comprehensive analysis of African energy supply and consumption pattern. It is provide insight into the generation, transformation, and consumption of the energy across the continent and all African member states, including information on fossil fuels, renewable energy, and electricity. By presenting a clear and structured view of African energy flow, this report is invaluable resources for understanding both the current status and the future trends of the energy sector in the continent. The second, the key African energy statistic publication. And this publication is consolidate the most important energy data from across the continent, offering a snapshot of the African energy production, consumption, and access. It serves as the reference guides, providing critical indicators that are essential for energy planning, investment decision, and policy formulation. Whether it is electricity generation, oil and gas production, or renewable energy capacity, this publication enables all the stakeholders to engage with the key data at a glance. The third, the energy database publication. This publication is extensive database, is treasures the trove of the energy-related data from across the continent of Africa, compiled and organized to facilitate detailed analysis and comparison. Just let me give you the three features of this republication. One, provide data at the country, regional and continental level. Second, present the main finding and feature the key statistic of individual member state, regional and continental statistic at large. Three, based mainly on data that has been provided by the individual member states. The data of the three publication was collected from all 55 African member states using the tool developed by Africa in 2020 for collecting energy data from African Energy Information System. These four collecting tools are Energy Balance Questionnaire, Energy Efficiency Questionnaire, Energy Price and Taxes Questionnaire, as well as port plant and install capacity. Currently, Africa proudly collects this data in collaboration with National Coordinator of the African Information System and the three focal points from each African member state appointed by a Minister of Energy and responsible for providing their national energy data using the 4 Africa questionnaire. The coordinator and the focal points are mainly housed in the Ministry of Energy or any other organs of the government with the mandate to produce and manage energy statistics at the national level. Africa collects data on year -2 basis. Therefore, this publication includes the data of the year 2022. We hope in the near future, Africa will be able, of course, with the support of our member states, to produce data on year -1 basis. And for that, we need the help of all. To produce this publication, Africa is continue providing annual regional capacity building, workshop, national training workshop, online meetings, and webinars for all our national focal point appointed by their ministry. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, as a part of Africa's effort to improve the energy statistic in African member states, allow me to share with you some of the efforts that Africa is conducting to achieve this objective. First, Africa has completed developing 2025-2030 strategy for improvement and harmonization of energy statistics in Africa. This strategy which is aligned with African Charter on Statistics and the Strategy for Harmonization of Statistics in Africa, will serve as a compass for the development of the energy statistic in Africa. Based on this strategy, Africa now urge all African Union member states to develop national statistics for the development of the energy statistic in implementing this strategy. Africa will develop a methodological document to assist African member states to do that. And this includes methodological guidelines on energy statistics, methodological guidelines on measuring biomass or bioenergy, methodological guideline for estimating missing data for energy, a data quality assessment framework on energy statistics, methodological document on clean cooking statistics. Second, supporting African member states in improving or establishing their national energy information system. In 2022, Africa supported 10 African member states in improving or setting up national energy information system in this country. At the end of this study, national diagnostic reports for each country, which with very clear action plan, were drawn up for the establishment or improving of national energy information system in the 10 member states. Given the resounding success of this study, Africa has just initiated a new study since November 2024 for improvement or establishment of national energy information system at the national and regional level. This new study will cover 16 African member states, namely Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Djibouti, Swatini, Ethiopia, Togo, Tunisia, Equatorial Guinea, Gambia, Liberia, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, Mozambique, and Mauritania. And the two regional economic community, AEIS and SADC. Africa plan to finalize this study before end of 2025, and the report will be available in public domain. The third efforts I need to bring to your attention, the SDG 7 report. It is target to be reference center and custodian as a target to be a reference center and custodian of energy data in Africa. Africa has initiated since the beginning of 2024 an African report on SDG 7. This report will be produced on the basis of data that will come exclusively from African Union member states. The objective of this African report on SDG 7 is to be a unique document that will be used for planning, monitoring, and evaluation of SDG 7 in Africa. Africa will launch the 2024 SDG 7 report before the end of the first quarter of this year. And the 2025 African SDG report will be launched before the end of 2025. Before I conclude, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to all of those who contribute to the production of this publication, especially the national coordinator and the focal points and the staff here at Africa. Your hard work, dedications, and expertise have made the achievement possible. I also would like to extend our thanks to our partner with a special mention to the Swedish International Development Agency, SIDA, whose support has been invaluable in making this data accessible. As we move forward, we encourage all stakeholders from government to the private sector, from the researcher to the civil society, to make full use of this publication in their work. Together, we can harness the power of data to unlock Africa's energy potential and drive sustainable development across the continent. In 2025, this year onwards, Africa will increase our focus on collection of data on energy efficiency indicator for end use, and will be providing a comprehensive training for the energy efficiency questionnaire for our national coordinator and also for our national focal point. In conclusion, let me reiterate that energy is the key to African future. By continuing together, analyze, and share knowledge, we are laying the groundwork for more prosperous, sustainable, and energy secure Africa. Let us work together to ensure that the energy future of our continent is one that benefit all African and contribute to the well-being of the future generation. Thank you, and I look forward to the ongoing discussion and collaborations that this publication will inspire. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Hand over to you, George.
Thank you very much, Director, for that comprehensive outlook on the energy sector. Just to quickly just mention a few issues. If you have questions, you can just drop them in the chat, in the Q&A. We have many staff from Africa available to respond to those questions that you raise. And then also we also have the French interpretation for this session for those that might want this information in a different language. At this point, I would like to provide some visual about these publications.
The African Energy Commission has published 3 key statistical documents under the African Energy Information System, a result of programs implemented in the African Union member states to enhance regional energy information systems and national energy information systems in Africa. These publications, which include the African Energy Balance, the Africa Energy Statistics, and the African Energy Database, have been produced following several consultative meetings and trainings where energy data from the member states were collected, processed, and validated. One of the publications, the African Energy Balance, analyzes in detail the energy flows in Africa, including production, consumption, and regional exchanges. The other publication, the Key Africa Energy Statistics, summarizes major energy data and trends across Africa. And the African Energy Database comprehensively compiles energy information in a digital format. Africa has made considerable efforts in enhancing the capabilities of member states to produce high-quality energy statistics through developing new questionnaires, providing online data collection systems and visualization tools, and establishing the Trainers Program, among other initiatives. These works not only reinforce Africa's pledge to support member states and regional institutions in improving their energy information systems, but also reflect its commitment to providing reliable and harmonized data to support sustainable energy strategies in Africa. The African Energy Commission remains steadfast in building skills in data collection, analysis, and dissemination to support evidence-based energy policies, stimulate investment, and to enable informed decision-making for sustainable energy development.
For the next item on our agenda, I would like to introduce Ms. Salome Meher, the Senior Policy Officer for Africa, to do a presentation on the 3 publications that we are launching today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Salome Meher. I'm a Senior Policy Officer for Energy Statistics at AFREC, and I'll be taking you through the 3 key publications of the African Energy Information System that are being launched today. These 3 publications are the Africa Energy Balance, the Key Africa Energy Statistics, and the Africa Energy Database. and these are the 2024 publications. AFREC worked in collaboration with these member states shown on the screen, and they are about 40. The other member states of AU were not able to participate due to several reasons, as AU is comprised of 55 member states. I'll take you through the Africa Energy Balances first. The Africa Energy Balances publication was prepared with the active collaboration of AU member states, and it is reporting data on a year-end -2 basis. This means we are reporting data for 2022, as this is a 2024 publication. And it is reporting energy balances for individual member states, as well as the collective energy balance for the continent at large. It is available in English and in French. Now, let's take a look at the key findings of the 2022 Africa Energy Balance publication. So the total primary energy supply was about 746,000 kilotons of oil equivalent. And this is constituted by biofuels, which is about 47.9%, followed by natural gas at 19.7%, and coal still being significantly used on the African continent at 15%, and oil at 14.3%. The energy dependency rate of Africa is 133%. Now moving on to total final consumption. The total final consumption for Africa is about 505,000 kilotons of oil equivalent. And the major highlight is the final consumption by fuel, where biofuels is constituting 54%. And this is followed by oil products, which constitute 26%. Electricity is at 9%, natural gas at 7%, and Africa is still using coal at 2.57%. The 54.41% of biofuels is mainly used in the household sector. Now looking at total final consumption by sector, the household sector is consuming 43%, and the transport sector is consuming 24%, followed by industry at 17%, services sector at 10%, and all the other sectors only consuming 6% of the total final energy in Africa. Now we are dwelling into the household sector to really look at their consumption at household level. So most of the African households are consuming 77.9% in biofuels and waste. This is because many households in Africa are in the rural areas and they rely on wood, charcoal, and other biofuels for their cooking and heating. This is followed by the 9% that are using electricity in Africa. 6.86% are using oil products, and the natural gas is about 6.16%. There's a small amount of households that are using coal, but this coal is not really popular in households because it is not a clean energy. Now, we are looking at the energy balances that are in the publication. We start with the energy balances for individual member states. In this case, I'm highlighting for Algeria, one of our member states. And then all of the energy balances for the member states are collated to come up with the energy balance for Africa. The energy balance is divided into rows and columns. And these rows are showing a transition of the different energy products that we have. So in this case, I'll give an example. We have crude oil, and this one, all of our energy balances are in energy units, and AFREC uses the kilotons of oil equivalent units. There are other units, there are terajoules, there are other units, but for us, we use the KTOEs. Then the columns are divided into 3 different sections. There is the section for the primary supply, there is the section for transformation, and then there is the section for final consumption. We can see that in the sections, there is these gold-colored numbers. These are a result of formulas that are embedded in the energy balance, and they are automatically calculated. So in this case, we are recording production of each of the energy products that are found in Africa, the imports, the exports. You can see the exports have a negative sign as they are leaving the flow. And we have international marine bunkers and international aviation bunkers. They also have negative values as they are leaving as well. We have stock changes. Then the total primary energy supply is automatically calculated. So in each and every column, it is for each and every individual energy product. Then at the end, we have a total of all the energy products and all the energy sources that are in Africa. Then all of these are calculated and we come up with the total primary energy supply. We also have transfers and statistical differences. Then we have a section of transformation. The transformation sector is when we are now transforming from one form of energy to another. For example, we can transform from coal to electricity. We can transform from crude oil to petroleum products like petrol and diesel. So these are some of the transformation processes. And we can see that there are numbers with negative numbers in the transformation sector and there are numbers with positive numbers. The negative number means an input into a transformation process, an input into a refinery, for example, or an input into a power plant. For example, we can input crude oil into a refinery and the figure will be a negative. And then we'll have oil products coming out as output. Therefore, we'll have our oil products with a positive number. There are also energy industry on use. This is what is being consumed by the power plant that is producing the energy. There are losses. We also have the total final consumption. So the total final consumption is divided into several industries. We have the industry into several sectors. We have the industry sector, the transport sector, the household sector, the commercial and public services sector, agriculture or forestry, others which are non-specified. Then there are some values that are of non-energy use that we also record. The value for the total final consumption of all the energy products is here. That's how we calculate all these values. And this is the same for all the balances, whether it's for Africa or for an individual member state. Now we move on to the key Africa energy statistics publication. This was also prepared with active collaboration of AU member states, and it highlights the key trends from the updated African Energy Information System. So this report indicates Africa's commitment to providing timely, reliable data, and it can be used to inform policy as it is evidence that is needed. This publication is also available in English and in French. Now we start with the supply sector that I showed you in the energy balance publication. The total primary energy supply by fuel. Now this is showing us time series data, and we can see that there has been a significant increase from the year 2000, which is our base year, to the year 2022. However, we notice that there is a slight decrease starting from 2020 up to 2022. Biofuels and waste are constituting most of the energy that is being supplied in Africa. Now, comparing the 2000 and the 2022 shares of total primary energy supply, we can see that biofuels and waste here in 2000 were 42%, and this value has increased to 48% in 2022. Oil products have reduced from 25% in 2000 to 14% in 2022. So these are some of the significant differences that we can see. Coal has reduced from 22% to 15%. This shows that there is a significant decrease in coal usage in Africa, even though this 15% is still significant. There is an increase in the uses of natural gas, as we have 7.7% in 2000, and now we have 19.7% in 2022. Nuclear is only being used in Africa, in South Africa, in Africa. That's the only country that is using nuclear energy. And there's been a decrease from 0.9% to 0.5%. And hydro, there's been an increase from 1.7% to 1.9%. We are now seeing an increase in the use of wind, geothermal, and solar PV from 0.1% up to 0.6%. Now, looking at the total primary energy supply by region, we can see that the North African region constitutes most of the energy that is being supplied in Africa, and this is followed by West Africa, followed by Southern Africa, then East Africa, and lastly, Central Africa. Comparing the year 2000 and 2022, the regional shares, we can see that North Africa in 2000 constituted 36%. North Africa is still dominating with 48% total primary energy supply in Africa. So North Africa is followed by West Africa at 18%, whereas in 2000, West Africa constituted 24%, but now it's down to 18%. Southern Africa was 19% in 2000, now it's 15%, and Central Africa was 12%, now it's 8%. Looking at firewood production, we can see that there is a significant decrease in firewood production in Africa. So we can see that West Africa constituted most of the firewood production in Africa. And this is mainly because of Nigeria. Now we look at comparing the figures in 2000 and in 2022. West Africa constituted 43%, whereas it is now constituting 27% of firewood production. East Africa was at 26%, now it's at 33%. Southern Africa is at 17%, now it's at 15%. Most of the North African countries do not use biofuels. And we can see this because here in 2000 it was 1%, and now it's at 0.77. Now looking at hydro production from 2000 to 2022, we can see that there is a gradual increase in hydro production as it was from 2000 up to 2022. This is due to the increased number of hydro plants, power plants that were installed in Africa. Now comparing the regional shares of hydro production from 2000 and 2022, we can see that the Southern African region was at 35% in 2000, and now it's at 30%. And the Northern African region was at 20%. Now it's at 9%. We can see that is a huge decline in the Northern African region. Then Central Africa was at 14%. It's now at 22%. East Africa was at 10%. It's now at 22%. Now moving on to the transformation sector. So charcoal is produced from firewood, and depending on the efficiency levels, it determines the product that comes out as charcoal, the amount. Now we can see that there is a significant increase in the charcoal production from 2000 to 2022. And charcoal is mainly used in West and East Africa, as we can see in this graph. Now, looking at the regional shares of charcoal production, we can see that West Africa has 32.9% and East Africa has 36.1%. West Africa in 2000 was at 32, now it's at 41.6. East Africa was at 36, now it's at 29%. Southern Africa was at 20%, it has significantly reduced to 12%. And Central Africa was at 8%, it has increased to 16.6%. We can see that Northern Africa was at 1.7% and it has reduced to 0.5%. Electricity generation by fuel. You can see that most of the electricity being generated in Africa is coming from fossil fuels, and it is followed by hydro. Then all the other energy products follow. Now, looking at 2000, fossil fuel was constituting 79% of the share of electricity generation. Now, fossil fuel has reduced just a little bit to 75%. This is followed by hydro in 2000. And this is still the case in 2022, with hydro still maintaining 17%. And it's almost 18% now into 2022. Biofuels and waste for electricity generation is very low at 0.24 in 2000 and 0.21 in 2022. However, we see a significant increase in solar and wind and also in geothermal, with geothermal increasing from 0.1% to 0.64, whereas solar and wind increased from 0.05 to 4.67% for electricity generation, which is very good. Now, nuclear has reduced from 2.96 to 1.43%. Electricity generation by region. We can see that the region that has most of the electricity generation is North Africa, followed by Southern Africa. So on this slide, we'll see the comparison of the regional shares of electricity generation between 2000 and 2022. We will see that in 2000, South Africa had a share of 54.83%, whereas it now has a share of 34.89%. North Africa had a share of 32.19%, and now it has increased to 42%. Central Africa and East Africa almost had 3%, whereas now East Africa is at 6.91% and Central Africa is at 5.71% respectively. West Africa is at 7% and in 2000 and is now at 10.1% in 2022. Moving on to consumption. Total final consumption by fuel. We can see that the total final consumption is mainly in biofuels and waste. And oil is following. And this is a trend and has been increasing from 2000 up to 2022. So this is a comparison of the values of the shares of total final consumption in 2000 and in 2022. In 2000, biofuels and the waste was at 63.65%. Now it's at 54%. Natural gas is at 3.54%, and now it's at 7.38%. Electricity has increased from 7.7% to 9.37%. Oil has also increased from 20.86% to 26%. There has been, however, a reduction in coal from 4% to 2.57%. The total final consumption by region, we see that West Africa is the one that is consuming most of the energy. followed by Northern Africa. So we look at 2000. We see that West Africa was consuming 33.35% in 2000, and now it's consuming 23.64%. We see an increase in North Africa from 15.97% to 21%. East Africa also increased from 16.8% to 22%. Central Africa from 11 to 13%. We look at Southern Africa, there's been a slight decrease from 22% to 19%. So this key Africa Energy Statistics report shows a simplified version of the 2000 versus the 2022 energy balance. It also features selected energy indicators per member state. This includes the total primary energy supply per population, the total final consumption per capita, the total primary energy supply per GDP, the electricity consumption per capita. So we invite you to also go into this document and look at all these indicators. Now moving on to the Africa Energy Database. The Africa Energy Database was developed as it is a mandate of AFREC to produce a comprehensive African Energy Information System database. So this database is comprehensive, and it has tools that are used for data collection. And it is based on the production, consumption, imports, and exports of energy resources of the African countries. So the architecture of the data that is represented in the Africa Energy Database is based on 3 levels: at individual member state level, at regional level, and the whole continent at large. So data in the energy database was collected in collaboration with focal points from member states. This publication is also available in English and in French. Now, the Africa Energy Database, as I said before, is showing data for individual countries, then regional level, and then the African continent at large. So in this case, we have shown you what is being shown in this energy database, just a clip shot. This is for Algeria. And on the same page, you will see that it is translated into 2 languages: the Total Energy Statistics Algeria, and then Statistic Energetic Total Algeria. Then you can see that in the column, it is showing us these all of the energy products that are used in Algeria, and the units are in natural units. We also have a page that is also showing the same information, but now it is in energy units. This is now the African region representation. This is now a total of all the energy in the African countries in East Africa. This is just an example of how it will look. So this is the total production of coal in East Africa in 2000. And this is in natural units. This is also available in energy units as well. So this is also featured in the energy database publication. We have production by energy product. So in this case, we are showing production of charcoal in KT or in kilotons. It's in natural units. Then we also have production of electricity from renewable energies. Then we also have total production of electricity. So we have totals for energy products, and then we also have where we have transformations. All this information is captured in the energy database. Now, it also captures information on final consumption. So this is an example of what is in the energy database. There is the final consumption of electricity in gigawatt hours. There is also the consumption of oil in the industry. and we can see that it's in both English and in French on the same page. The publication also features net imports, then also a summary of Africa's total energy production, consumption, imports, and exports. In conclusion, we hope you really like what you will find in the publications that have been presented to you today. So in order for you to be able to access these publications, you can contact us using the contact details on the screen. You can also visit our website, www.auafrec.org. You can send an email to this email address. You can also follow us on our social media handles that are here on this page. You can also scan this QR code. It will take you directly to our page and you'll be able to access these documents. Thank you all for your attention. I hope you will have a good day.
Thank you so much for that elaborate presentation about the three documents. Before we get into our Q&A, I would like to just maybe just visualize something for the audience today.
There's no sound. No sound.
At this point, I would like to open the webinar up to a Q&A session. There are several questions that were submitted into the chat. So I will highlight and point out a few, or if my colleagues have seen some of the questions, you can just raise your hand, and then we can give you the platform to maybe proceed and give a response to these questions. Samson, have you seen the questions in the chat?
Yeah. Thank you very much, George. I think we have quite good number of questions in the chat. So let me give the floor maybe to my colleague, Salome, Abdullah, Emmanuel. They can come in and then try to answer to. There are some questions we already answered, like we type of answer, but there are some are still there. So Salome, please, over to you.
So thank you, Samson, for handing over to me. So I'll be answering the questions that have not yet been dealt with during the presentation. So I'll start with this question from Mustafa. He's asking if there are any plans to include in the report GHG emission levels by energy subsector. So as AFREC, we have an energy balance questionnaire that we use to collect data from member states. And in this questionnaire, there is an embedded formula that automatically calculates GHG emissions, but these are calculated only from the thermal emissions if the country is producing energy using thermal power plants, then the GHG emissions are calculated. So already this information is available to member states. Then there's an anonymous attendee who's asking, he wrote very timely, relevant, and impactful publications. Quick questions. Are the data independently confirmed by AFREC? How are the member states expected to use this information? For example, does AFREC recommend specific countries to shift their energy use from specific technology to another? So the answer is, as AFREC, we do not produce this data ourselves. This data is provided to us by member states. We validate this data as AFREC in collaboration with these member states, and we come up with the energy balance for each member state. Then these member states are now able to use this to inform their policy, to come up with their plans. So definitely the countries can use this to shift their energy use to another specific technology.
Thank you so much, Salome, for that response. There is also another question that has been put in the chat by Kolade Esan. The question is, will the 14 countries that didn't respond still respond later in the future?
Yes, as AFREC, our executive director, Mr. Rashid, is actually engaging specifically with these countries that are having difficulties. He's having visits to each of these countries at a high level, because there are several reasons why these countries are not able to participate. So as AFREC, we are working towards this, and eventually we hope all 55 countries will be able to participate.
Thank you so much for that response. Emmanuel, you can take the floor. I've seen your hand. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Il y a un certain nombre de questions qui sont reliées à la collecte de données elle-même effectuée par l'Afrique. Donc, je voudrais apporter un peu quelques éclaircissements sur la manière dont nous procédons. Et pour partir à la base, c'est que l'Afrique dispose de points focaux dans tous les pays. Et donc, chaque pays a 4 points focaux, en plus d'un coordonnateur qui est la personne, qui est l'interface entre l'équipe et l'Afrique. Et chaque année, ces pays collectent les données, élaborent les bilans énergétiques que l'Afrique a conçus à travers un questionnaire qui est envoyé. Donc, je crois que Salomé a déjà parlé de ça dans sa présentation. Et ces questionnaires sont remplis et les bilans énergétiques sont générés automatiquement. Et les points focaux chargent ça dans la base de données de l'Afrique après avoir travaillé en parfaite collaboration pour harmoniser les différents calculs et les résultats. Donc, il y a vraiment une interaction entre l'Afrique et les points focaux, ce qui permet d'avoir des données vraiment validées à notre niveau, parce qu'il y a une question qui est aussi liée à la validation. Donc, les données sont validées en collaboration avec l'Afrique et chargées dans la base de données. Donc, concernant la motivation au niveau des pays pour fournir régulièrement les données, nous savons déjà que nos pays, nous avons des difficultés en ce qui concerne la collecte, d'abord au plan national, avant de le transmettre à l'Afrique. Nous connaissons les réalités au plan national et l'Afrique a mis beaucoup d'accent sur la formation. Et la formation au plan continental, que ce soit pour les pays francophones et pour les pays anglophones, sur les bilans énergétiques et sur les questionnaires de l'efficacité énergétique. Mais en plus de cela, l'Afrique a entrepris de former les pays au plan national. Donc, chaque pays peut demander donc, à l'Afrique, s'il y a un besoin de former les gens au niveau des ministères. L'Afrique se déplace avec des experts. Et il y a déjà 2 pays qui ont déjà bénéficié de cela au cours de cette année. Et ça va continuer par se faire au cours des années à venir. Donc, l'Afrique va se déplacer dans les pays pour former ses collègues qui s'occupent de la collecte de données. Donc, une fois que cela est fait, cela permet d'améliorer la qualité des données que nous recevons au niveau de l'Afrique et aussi stimuler ces pays dans la collecte régulière. Parce que, je le disais tantôt, les difficultés rencontrées sont connues, mais avec la formation, nous avons eu des expériences qui ont montré que beaucoup de pays ont compris et ont pu vraiment envoyer les données à temps. Il y a aussi le délai de transmission des données à l'Afrique. Nous sommes aujourd'hui en 2025 et nous publions les données de 2022. Donc l'Afrique est en train de faire un effort toujours avec ces points focaux pour les aider à être de plus en plus à jour pour que nous puissions aboutir à des présentations de données en année N-1. Cela est très important pour nous permettre d'être à jour. Et pour les pays qui ont encore des difficultés, le directeur exécutif de l'Afrique se déplace en personne. Et l'année passée, il l'a fait pour certains pays. Il y a beaucoup de pays qui ont eu la visite du directeur exécutif. Et cela va que cela va se faire aussi cette année pour rencontrer les ministres, parce que c'est les plus hautes autorités qui vont donner les instructions et donner les moyens au pays pour fonctionner. Et donc, ce sont des actions que l'Afrique est en train de mettre en place pour que tous les pays rentrent dans la dynamique. Mais il faut le dire, il faut reconnaître que beaucoup de pays ont déjà fait énormément d'efforts et nous en sommes très heureux. Mais nous allons continuer encore pour les pays qui ont encore certaines difficultés pour les amener à être à jour dans la production des données. Et donc, voilà un peu dit la manière dont les données sont collectées. Et une fois que cela est fait au niveau national, le questionnaire de l'Afrique qui est disponible pour tous les points focaux est rempli et envoyé à l'Afrique, qui produit maintenant les statistiques au plan national et au plan continental. Voilà un peu comment cela fonctionne en ce qui concerne la collecte de données. La méthodologie n'est rien d'autre que celle de l'AEIS, utilisée aussi par l'AIE, tout ça. Nous nous alignons sur la méthodologie internationalement utilisée par tous les pays, donc afin de permettre la comparabilité des données entre pays aussi et entre les pays africains et les autres continents, donc les pays des autres continents. Donc voilà un peu comment se fait la collecte de données et nous sommes toujours disponibles à répondre à toutes les questions s'il y a des éclaircissements à donner. Merci.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for that response. Abdullah, I've seen your hand.
Merci beaucoup, Georges, et félicitations à tous mes collègues pour ce excellent travail. Donc, effectivement, Monsieur Bangali ne peut pas parler parce qu'on est je crois que c'est un webinaire, donc il n'a pas la main pour pouvoir désactiver le micro pour pouvoir parler. Mais je suggère que Monsieur Bangali peut poser sa question en écrit. Voilà, donc j'ai vu pas mal de questions et mes collègues ont répondu et il manquait j'ai vu une question concernant les gaz à effet de serre. Effectivement, le questionnaire de l'Afrique, c'est une question bien étendue, donc ça couvre toutes les questions énergétiques. Et lorsque les points focaux arrivent à renseigner les données selon les sources d'énergie, plus précisément ceux des énergies fossiles, le calcul des émissions de gaz à effet de serre se calcule d'une manière automatique. Donc, nous allons les publier sur le site de l'Afrique. Donc, pour ceux qui veulent connaître les différentes gaz à effet de serre qui ont été générés suite aux sources de ces énergies, peuvent avoir ces données directement sur le site de l'Afrique. Voilà, c'est ce que je voulais ajouter comme d'autres éclaircissements concernant la question sur le gaz à effet de serre. Merci.
Thank you, Abdullah, for that. I've seen another question here from Amit Daz. The question is, has Africa considered the feasibility of digital training and investing in a digital training platform for data collection for coordinators?
Okay, so as Africa, we conduct regional trainings for all member states. So we train, we work in collaboration with focal points who are housed in the Ministry of Energy. And these are the ones that we train because we work with the Ministry of Energy, as this is our mandate. We have to work with Ministry of Energy. And these coordinators and focal points are coming specifically from the ministry. But at national level, we encourage member states to formulate what are called energy statistics working group, which consist of members or people coming from different sectors in the energy sector. So if that specific country requires training, as Africa, we can offer training for that member state for all the people coming from all the energy sector in that specific member state. But at Africa level, when we are conducting our trainings, we conduct them specifically for focal points and coordinators from the Ministry of Energy or any other organization that is mandated to produce energy statistics. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Salome, for that. I've seen another question. I'm not quite sure if it's been comprehensively handled already. But the question is that globally there is a drive towards storage solutions. So this would be useful to boost energy efficiency in Africa. Are there any research efforts to prepare Africa towards this shift to storage solutions?
Yes, okay, thank you, Samson. And maybe just to first add on what Salome has already answered in terms of having a digital platform for capacity building on data statistics. Yes, under the policy division, we are having a capacity building program. And in most of the modules that are being developed now, we are working towards having a digital version where people can undergo self-paced training for the various modules that we offer. And I think maybe energy statistics would be one of the modules that can be digitalized for people to benefit from. Specifically on the question to do with battery storage for the grid, yes, in the African continent, there are various member states currently who are at advanced stages of looking at the use of grid-based battery storage. BESS examples include South Africa, Malawi, Kenya, and for these countries, mainly it's not for energy efficiency, but basically to support the grid, provide more grid stability to allow the uptake of more intermittent renewable energy sources like wind and solar on the grid. And therefore, at the continental level, if you look at the continental master plan, we include different storage options, including hydro, pumped hydro, and battery storage as part of the options. So yes, battery storage is one of the solutions being explored at the continental level or at member state level or regional level. But then, of course, we also have to be conscious of the aspects to do with the cost associated with it. And that's why you'll see in the planning of most of the member states and the continental level, the use of pumped hydro and pumped hydro mainly and natural gas come out very strongly as opposed to the use of BESS. Thank you.
Yeah, Betty, I've seen your hand. You can go ahead, Emmanuel.
Oui, merci Georges. Dans le chat, il y a une question concernant la Sierra Leone. Je voudrais répondre à la personne pour lui dire que oui, l'Afrique a bel et bien une équipe au niveau du ministère de l'Énergie de la Sierra Leone. Il y a un point focal, un coordonnateur et d'autres points focaux qui sont là-bas. Vous pouvez contacter le ministère de l'Énergie à Sierra Leone et vous aurez toutes les informations. Merci.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for that. Okay. I can see a hand from Jackis Kihani. Sorry, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly, but you can go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation. I wanted to find out, are you able to include the tariff per energy generation type per country, as well as the grid connection cost?
Thank you so much for that question. Okay, before I allow my colleagues to respond, we can also get another question from Jean-Philippe. I think you can go ahead to ask a question.
Okay, yes, so thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. So my question was to know what are the different challenges that are revealed by these statistics according to the African Union Energy Visions?
You can repeat the question, Jean-Philippe.
Yeah, so my question was to know the different challenges that are revealed by the statistics, the current statistic presented, according to the African Union visions.
Nixon, I think the question is more in line with the African Union has visions and targets that have been set, and in terms of energy access, and are these issues in line? Some of the challenges that you face, some of the challenges that are faced or encountered during the data collection, do they show an indication that this aligns with the visions that have been set up by the African Union? Yes.
Okay, I'll respond to that. So offhand, some of the challenges that have been highlighted by this data is we have seen that there is still quite low electrification rates in Africa. And this is a huge challenge for Africa. there's still a very high usage of biomass in the household sector in Africa. And we recommend clean energy. Therefore, we are coming up with clean cooking strategies and all. That is being done by our policy department. Then also there's still high usage of fossil fuels in Africa. So there's also a need to move away from fossil fuels and move towards cleaner forms of energy. Then there's also another question about the tariff per energy generation and the grid.
Yes.
So as Africa, we have a questionnaire for energy prices and taxes. And we rely on member states to provide us this data. Now, the challenge that we have had so far is that we are only receiving this information from just a few member states. So we are working towards increasing this number so that we can have a clear representation of the continent at large, as well as regions, as well as for each member state. But this is something that we are working towards.
Yeah, maybe to just complement from the policy section on the question of what the data is revealing. You would recall when Salome was presenting the final energy consumption for biomass is quite significant in Africa. So that's a key challenge that you're having. And that's why we'll know that we have an African clean cooking program that is trying to support the member states to transition their population from the traditional use of biomass and charcoal mainly to the modern energy services, including the clean cooking solutions. So that clearly came out from Salome's presentation. And also, if you look at the final energy consumption in terms of electricity, the regions that have significant access to electricity, you would see they have a higher electricity consumption in the mix. For example, the Northern Africa, South Africa, and also West African countries where there's a lot of access, then we'll see a lot of electricity consumed in those parts. The other thing, you will know that you are pivoting the use of natural gas as a transition fuel. And from the data, you could see since 2020 and 2022, there's been a significant growth of use of natural gas in the continent, which we project to grow to more than 20% by 2040, as also another statistic. We're also pivoting the use of solar and wind and geothermal as renewable energy sources. And significantly, you have seen in the data statistics, there's been growth in the use of solar and wind to around 4% in 2022. So there's a direct correlation between what the African Union is pushing in terms of access to electricity, access to clean cooking, the use of natural gas as a transition fuel, and also the use of wind and solar as a renewable energy source that we have in the continent, with what we are seeing in the data that was presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know George is still just not there. So maybe let me take now over until George will connect again. So I think Emmanuel, please feel free to come in and answer to some questions. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Oui, je voudrais apporter un élément de réponse à une question dans le chat concernant les puissances installées. Je crois qu'il y a quelqu'un qui pose la question de savoir pourquoi on n'a pas parlé des puissances installées. Effectivement, je voudrais donner quelques éclaircissements là-dessus pour dire qu'il y a parmi les questionnaires que l'Afrique envoie au pays, il y a un questionnaire uniquement dédié aux puissances installées dans chaque pays. Donc, nous allons petit à petit, nous n'allons pas forcer les pays, mais nous collectons ces données régulièrement. Donc, ces questionnaires, effectivement, certains pays ont rempli. Nous n'avons pas encore tout collecté pour pouvoir présenter des résultats tangibles, mais nous travaillons avec eux pour que ce questionnaire aussi soit rempli, pour que dans tous les pays, on puisse avoir une idée claire sur les puissances installées et quels sont les types de centrales installées dans ces pays-là. Et donc, cela nous permettra aussi d'alimenter ou bien d'améliorer nos publications. Et ça sera une part vraiment entière de la publication les années prochaines. Donc, une fois que nous allons vraiment avoir le maximum de données de tous les pays africains, nous pourrons agréger cela et le présenter. Il y a un questionnaire pour cela et les pays sont en train de les remplir un à un. Nous recevons les questionnaires pays par pays. Lorsque nous jugerons vraiment le nombre d'informations assez suffisantes pour être publiées, cela va être fait. Nous vous remercions.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And thank you so much for all the questions that have been raised and posed. It has helped and enabled us to have a very interactive session to actually unpack most of these issues. At this point, I would like to thank everyone that posed the question. And if you have more questions, you can still drop them in the chat. A lot of these conversations still have opportunity to be continued even beyond this webinar. At this point in time, I would like to invite the director for the African Energy Commission, Mr. Rashid Ali Abdallah, to give us the way forward and also concluding remarks as we wind up this webinar. Thank you so much. Mr. Rashid, over to you.
Thank you very much, George. And first of all, allow me to thank all the participants who really take their times and be with us in presenting this the finding of this publication. The way forward for us to work and to put more effort in improving energy statistic in Africa. Africa, we have a mandate and we have a dedications, and we are try to make Africa as custodians for energy statistic in Africa. And to do that, we need to support our African member state, provide training to improve our energy statistic in the national level, to start improve reporting to reach more country to report on the energy statistic. And also, as we mentioned, we have in place a strategy for 5 years to improve the energy statistic in Africa, and we are going to implement this strategy. And to do that, we need support for everyone, being expert in the African member state, being academia, being private sector, being decision maker. So we need all of you to join us in this journey. And of course, this publication, it is available to everyone to use. It will be available in our website. We are also happy to reach any of us to have, if you have any discussion or if you have any question or clarification, or if you have any support you need to provide to us. And I think Africa is not only statistic. I just need to highlight that we are also working on energy transition. We are supporting now 3 countries to develop their energy decarbonization path. We are working also in energy efficiency, where we are going to support some African member states to develop their energy efficiency strategy and action plan. We are working for clean cooking. We are hope that we can expand our work to support some country to develop their national clean cooking, and also to establish clean cooking facility hosted by Africa to support African member state. We are also working in the capacity building from 2025 onward. We are going to run a massive capacity building program targeting experts in African member state. So we have a lot of intervention. We hope that it will contribute positively to improve the energy landscape in African continent. So you will hear a lot from us, and we have a dedicated team here in Africa to provide that intervention, and we are also depend on our expert in African member state to give us guidance and also support. By this, I think I conclude my remark to thank you again to attend this webinars, and you will also to invite you to our upcoming webinars. And as you say, Africa, now we have monthly webinars, and we'll receive invitation soon about the upcoming webinar. Thank you very much again, and I hand over to you, George.
Thank you very much, Director, for those remarks. I would like to just add more thank yous for all of you for attending and actively participating in during this webinar. Your support and commitment demonstrates our mutual and collective ambition for sustainable energy access and use in Africa. So thank you so much for your time and your commitment to this webinar, and we hope to see you again for the subsequent webinars as the Director has mentioned. Thank you so much for your time.